Did Jesus advocate for conceal and carry? Many people misunderstand and misuse the verse in Luke 22 where Jesus tells his disciples to buy a sword. After he said this, they said, "Oh, look, here are two swords." So they obviously went and got two swords. It doesn't say that they all had swords with them and they just showed him two of them, because there were more than two disciples. So if they all were carrying swords, they all would have had one. He wouldn't have had to tell them to go get them. And when he saw that there were two, they told him there were two swords. He said, "That's enough." Again, the purpose of having those swords was that he would be counted with transgressors. Do you really think that Jesus thought that two swords were enough to protect him and his men, the disciples, from a group of people coming to arrest him? It tells us that there were chief priests, the officers of the temple guard, and elders. They came out to get him, and they came with swords and clubs. I don't think Jesus thought that two swords was enough to protect them. You have to look at what Jesus taught and preached throughout his entire ministry about loving one's enemies. I don't think now, right at the very end, he would start advocating to bring swords to kill people or to protect themselves. Again, he said to get the swords so that he would be counted with transgressors, meaning those with the swords are transgressors. And if we back up a few verses in this chapter, we see that Peter said, "I will go with you, even unto prison and unto death." Peter didn't say, "I will defend you, I will fight for you." He said, "I am willing to stand with you and go to prison and to death." We all know that he denied Jesus, but his intent was to go to prison or to death, not to fight. And then when Judas came to betray him, they were standing there and they asked him, "What do you want us to do? Do you want us to take the swords out?" So they weren't even thinking in their minds like, "Oh, these swords are here to defend ourselves and I've got it ready." They were asking him, "Oh, should we use these two swords?" Maybe that's why Jesus wanted for us to have these swords, so that we could protect him. And then one of them cut off the high priest's slave's ear. And Jesus had enough of it then. He said, "That's it. This is enough." And he touched the man's ear and healed him. And another passage, he affirms that if you choose to live by the sword, you will die by the sword. The only sword a Christian should carry is the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.